Hi everybody, my name's Steve of Align Transformations, and today I'd like to, in a very simple way, introduce you to a technique which I think is extremely effective in everyday life. It's called EFT, and this technique has been used very successfully with everything from minor discomfort and emotional challenges to things like, for example, phobic responses, true phobias, i.e. heights or wasps or PTSD even. It's been used very, very effectively. Now, the reason the technique is so effective is because it's one of the few things that can get past the brain, the thinking. I love most modalities for helping people. However, some of the talking modalities like psychotherapy, psychiatry, and all those other practices which rely on you to be able to think your way through the problem often can't. And the reason they can't get you through that problem is because a lot of these problems or a lot of our the way our brain thinks stem from a time between the ages of 0 and 5, which is the most influential part of our learning as a child. We learn certain behaviours, you learn certain ways of being at that age, and we don't remember how, we don't remember why even. And occasionally, sometimes our wires get crossed. This is perfectly normal for all of us. However, for a lot of us, this can result in things like anxiety, which I used to have chronically and acutely, which is now pretty much gone. The occasional little thing that was just normal to feel anxious over something occasionally comes up, but generally it's not there. Things like fear of public speaking, it's incredibly effective for. Yeah, there are so many different applications you can use for EFT, and EFT, by the way, stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And if you consider that when you are 0 to 5, very often we're like a sponge, and this sponge, as we grasp life, as we kind of learn things, which we just take things at face value, and sometimes these things are what I would call discordant, i.e. they're not great, and they become our reality, they become our belief. So really, beliefs, all they really are feelings of certainty, meaning one thing acts with another. So you can feel a certain way about something, and often what happens is your thoughts will kick in to try and prove that that's correct, or the completely opposite way around. You believe something and your feelings will combine to make that true. And just think for the amount of times that you have certain beliefs or feelings around something, and you watch something automatically just kick in. Now, this is what this technique is especially good for, and it can get to places that where you don't have to think. And the way it does that is it interrupts the paths of the signal, the automatic responses from our limbic brain, our old brain here, which is the fight or flight aspect of our brain, and that actually often creates phobias. It will send from here straight to other parts of your brain to send chemicals through to react in a certain way. So, for example, when people get up for public speaking, that's why you'll go dry in the mouth, you get sweaty hands, because your brain has told your body to get ready for a fight or flight, basically. So the fear aspect comes in. Now, as I said before, sometimes fear is a great thing. If you do this technique, you won't lose appropriate fear, but what you will lose is you'll lose the inappropriate stuff, the stuff where we clam up, the stuff where we have these beliefs which aren't true, which are keeping us locked in a certain way. And also it helps balance us out, because when we live life in this way, which I'll get into in a minute, how this technique works, about our acupuncture, acupressure, meridian systems, they start blocking. And when they start blocking, over time, it becomes a habit, obviously, it becomes your reality, or our reality. But it also creates potentially ill health and definitely stress that I used to get chronically, and at one point where I found it very debilitating, as a lot of other people do as well. And what this technique does, as you use it, there's a certain way you use it, but what it does is it actually clears, you're tapping on each major meridian system as you go through a protocol, which is extremely basic and simple. And what it does is it clears the signals, it rebalances the signals from the brain to your body, so it tells them to balance out. So if you have, for example, which I'll discuss in a moment, an acute fear of heights, it will, as you tap around the points, it will bring that fear back down to a healthy fear of heights, i.e. maybe it's not safe to stand on the edge of a 10,000 foot mountain with a drop below you and the wind's blowing. However, it doesn't make sense to feel logically, to feel fearful if you're standing on step ladders, say 2 rungs up, and you want to do a bit of decorating, but you can't do it because of fear. Even though our brain is telling us there's nothing to be fearful of, the fact is a limbic brain, a reptilian brain, the oldest part of our brain, is telling us fear. And it's a signal which needs to be rebalanced, or can be rebalanced, to work normally and healthily in a line with yourselves. So yeah, that's the basics of how EFT works. It's a reasonably new modality, actually. It was founded in 1990s off the back of something called TFT, which is thought field therapy, and it was used to help people with phobias. Now, my personal experience with EFT is it's great to use in conjunction, so with other things. If you're doing some deep work, it helps to balance things. If you're feeling anxious about something, it takes seconds to do. You can do it even when you're on a train discreetly. You don't have to tap. There's another way I can show you can use it. And I have found it extremely effective for work with phobias, i.e. people that have had a phobia for 15, 20 years plus, and 10, 15 minutes, which is a long time for this technique, to go from acute and chronic fear of heights, for example, to literally I'm totally okay and I'm standing on top of a pitched roof 2 floors up, squatting up and down. So that's how quickly this technique can work, and you can't get to that kind of stuff normally with other techniques. So in a moment, this video is mainly to introduce you to this technique, and the next video is going to show you the actual protocol, how to do it in its very basic form. Play with it. It's not. Yes, it is serious in terms of the results it can get, but the more you play with it, the important thing to do is to get into it. If I can give any tips at all, it's when you're using this protocol, is actually get into it, right into it. So the story, you're creating a movie almost of your story, which is what you're telling yourself all the time. So for example, if you're fear of heights, for example, is the example we're going to use. Every time I get on a step ladder, for example, I get scared, I tremble. Every time I walk up the top of escalators and look down, I get woozy, I can't look properly, I feel dizzy. So that's a story that's become compounded, and it's become my reality. And that's when, as I said before, the thought is this is what happens, so it creates this here, it creates the feelings around it, and boom, you get all those feelings. That's how they manifest, that's how this happens. So the idea is get into the story as best you can. Feel it, see it, hear it, smell it, taste it. However real it is for you, that's how you want to work. Play with it, and just see where it takes you. And just be, if you're free around it as you're going around the points, what you'll find is as you're going through a certain, fear of heights, for example, and feeling woozy looking down from an escalator, you might find something else will come up, and it could be that it unlocks a memory back to when you were 7 or 8, when you might have been on your bike, for example, cycling, and you fell off off a mound or a ledge or something, and there's an association there. So you'll actually go to that as well. You'll clear that up, and what you're doing is you're clearing up the little things, to the aspects, they're called, of this thing called fear of heights. And one by one, as you clear them up, which is very, very quick, as I say, it's not a slow process, it's an extremely quick process, and you'll find that then suddenly you've got nothing left. And if you were to go along and find a height issue, for example, again, you'd find that actually it's gone. Or if something comes up, you tap once or twice and that's it, it's gone. So without going on too long now, I'm going to introduce you to the next video, which is the protocol. This is exactly how you do the procedure. It consists of the setup, it consists of the points, and it consists of remeasuring the how you feel after. So you measure how you feel before, you set up, you go through the points, and then you reevaluate, remeasure, and that's it. It's really, really simple, but do not underestimate the power of this technique just because it's simple. I've got loads of friends who are in the psychotherapists, psychiatrists, doctors, etc., who, as they've used this technique, cannot believe the speed, the impact, and the power of getting to the story that we tell ourselves that then frees us up basically to be ourselves, to be authentic selves, and to create our own unique brilliance. So yep, I'm going to introduce you to the next video, which is the EFT basic protocol. Thanks for listening.